What is up, guys? Pappy here, and in today's video I wanted to go over the different exotics that you should probably keep an eye out for when the next season releases. Due to Arc 3.0 coming out soon, you should really definitely be paying attention to several different exotic armor pieces. So if we go over here to the Titan armor, you can see Insurmountable Skull Fort. Now this one is something I'm really excited for, because kills with arc melee abilities trigger health regeneration. Before we even get into the next part, if you're using Thunderclap, they say it's going to take a long time to charge up, but it's going to have a devastating, shockwave kind of blow towards the enemy. And if this thing regenerates health after you get a kill with one of your arc melee abilities, you're probably going to be near death most times that you're going to use Thunderclap. Now, if it's as potent as I know me and all my other Titan brothers hope, then this is going to be really beneficial, because not only are you going to be able to get your health back, you are going to get your melee energy back immediately. So after you've devastated whatever enemy you're facing, you'll have your health back and you'll have your melee back, and you can do it all over again. So I feel like this is definitely one that we need to be paying attention to and seeing if anything changes when Arc 3.0 comes out. Moving on from there, you've got Synthoceps. Now there are plenty of other Titan related exotics and or Arc 3.0 kind of Titan exotics that I probably could be looking at, but I'm going to focus on the ones that I think are actually going to make an impact on the meta, at least somewhat, whether it's PvE or PvP. So over here we got biotic enhancements with the Synthoceps. Increased melee lunge range. Now that alone isn't that big a deal, but they are adding what they added for Solar 3.0, where when Solar 3.0, when you have Roaring Flames active, your base melee has Solar applied to it. They did the same thing for Arc 3.0. They added when Knockout is active, then you have an arc base melee. So this is really cool for that. Improved melee and super damage when you're surrounded. So not only do you get this little buff, but you get this huge buff as well. So when you're surrounded, you could use Thunderclap, for example. You could have lots of Thrall and other like melee type enemies coming at you, have your resilience, maxed out, and then you're charging up Thunderclap, and as they all close in on you, you're surrounded, your melee damage is increased a ton, and when you use Thunderclap, you are going to devastate every enemy in that area, and I feel like this could be really, really cool. And on top of that, if you're using Thunder Crash, you can add on a lot more damage to that with this as well. From there, Aeon Safe. Now, I realize that this one's a little bit out there to mention, but Aeon Safe has Sect of Vigor, and you gain class ability energy as your allies die. So Titans have the new class ability Thruster, which is basically a grounded hunter dodge, and as your teammates die, you're going to rebuild that class ability energy, so you'll be able to use your dash a bit more if your team is garbage. Now on top of that, you gain full class ability energy when you resurrect an ally. So say you've used your thruster ability, you dash towards an enemy, you're getting the res in trials, and then as soon as you get the res, there's a sniper on your butt about to blow your brains out, and so you just use your thruster ability immediately after you res, you dodge a sniper bullet, and before you know it, you've won the match. I feel like Sect of Vigor Aeon Safe has a place next season for Titans, but I really don't know. We'll have to see how everything plays out. Worm God Caress, similar to Synthoceps, Worm God Caress has potential to be really good due to melee kills increase melee damage for a period of time. Additional kills extend duration and increase effects. So what you could do is, I can't remember how much this stacks, but let's say it stacks 5 times. You could run around and you could beat the tar out of like 5 Thrall, and then you're looking at the boss of the strike you're in or whatever, and then charge up your Thunderclap. Now, depending on how long it takes to use Thunderclap, you might not get to use this buff, but hopefully it'll work with it, because this could potentially be even stronger than with Synthoceps, and maybe even a little bit easier to pull off. Stronghold could be good if they give us a new arc sword. That would be really, really powerful or something. That this could be good. I really don't know how they could pull it off, but you know, keep your eye out. Moving on from there, none of these. Crest of Falfilupi. So this one could be good due to the fact that it says, and a healing pulse when barricade is activated. Now, this isn't that good right now. It's kind of good, but it's really, you know, it's not up there. I never use this thing, but I feel like where it could be useful is if they change the way this is worded, because Titans don't only have barricade anymore, they're gaining the thruster class ability. And if they have thruster, then this could change to when the class ability is activated. If this says class ability after Arc 3.0 comes out, then we will be able to dodge and heal at the same time. And that'll be essentially what we've had this season for Hunters with the Classy Restoration mod on our class. Hunters were able to dodge and heal at the same time, and it was really annoying in PvP, and I'm sure it was very helpful in PvE. I'm sure the Hunters really enjoyed it, and I know a lot of people are glad to see it go. But with this out here, Titans may have the ability to do that, but permanently, because this exotic's not going anywhere, and neither is the new Thruster class ability. I'm pretty sure both of those are set in stone. They're not going to go anywhere. So if this changes to when a class ability is activated, Crest of Falfilupi could really be a good exotic to pick, especially in PvP. So Actium War Rig. Actium War Rig, it could be extremely good this next season because it auto reloads your auto rifles and machine guns magazines from reserves. It also provides an airborne effectiveness buff to those weapons as well. The only reason I say that gun or that armor piece could be meta is because you've got stuff like Sweet Sorrow. It's a really good auto rifle. A lot of people don't use it, but I mean, I don't even use it that much, as you could tell, level 7 over here. But I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it's considered in its arc. It's craftable. You'll be able to get those enhanced perks and everything. I feel like this gun has a really good place in next season's meta. And on top of that, you got Actium War Rig to help reload it and apply that airborne effectiveness buff to it, along with reloading it over time. Then I don't have it down here, but Thunderlord will also benefit from having it. And if we go over here to Thunderlord, let me look at it real quick. So Thunderlord kills with this weapon generate lightning strikes from above. And then over here, lightning rounds. This weapon fires faster and more accurately the longer the trigger is held. Continuous damage generates lightning strikes. So the longer you hold down the trigger, the faster it fires, and the more lightning strikes it's going to do, and all this kind of stuff. Now, this gun is getting a buff next season. So if you combine this with Actium War Rig and whatever buff they have going, you have a massively potential, like, damage dealer or ad control kind of gun here, and I think it's definitely worth paying attention to. So back to our Titan armor over here. So Armamentarium. So Titans not only got a Hunter Dodge, but they also got enhanced arc grenades, kind of like the Warlock has enhanced other grenades for their other subclasses. Now, due to Titans getting enhanced grenades, Armamentarium only has one simple little perk, and it's gain an additional grenade charge. Due to the grenades being buffed for Titans and being the best arc grenades in the game, we can now have 2 of them on top of that. So I would definitely consider using Armamentarium. It's going to be potentially quite busted. Heart of Inmost Light. This is one of my favorite exotics of all time. I use it constantly. I believe I even have it equipped in this very video. Yep, I do. Because what it does is when you use a melee ability, it will buff your other two abilities, or if you use a grenade, it'll buff the other two. If you use a barricade, it'll buff the other two. So typically, like in PvP, what I would do is I would cast my barricade and then I would throw a grenade, or I would throw a grenade and then cast my barricade or something. Now my melee is like at its absolute most potent. And if I don't have it recharged, this also buffs the recharge rate of those abilities. So if you like the idea of using Worm God Caress or Synthoceps or other types of like Titan melee abilities, or maybe you like the idea of getting your maybe you like the idea of having two grenades, or maybe you like the idea of using Aeon Safe to get your class ability recharged faster. Heart of Inmost Light does all of those things, along with applying a damage buff, a regenerating buff, and extra health for the barricade. Like, this does a significant amount of stuff for our Titan's abilities. And while it's not going to give you two grenades, you can throw your grenade, use your melee, use your barricade, and your grenade will be back up before you realize it. And the same thing for all the other abilities as well. The only thing that I want this thing to be able to do, that I'm not sure that it's going to have the capability to do, is this says grenade, melee, or barricade. Unless this changes to grenade, melee, or class ability, then this might not be that good. At least it might not be that good for using thruster. The big reason why I want to use this is to get my thruster class ability back as quick as possible. Because I play primarily PvP, and the thruster class ability is going to be one of the biggest bonuses to playing Titan next season, in PvP specifically. And I want to make sure that I can keep my thruster class ability up as much as possible. So max out your resilience, throw in Heart of Inmost Light or Aeon Safe, and we'll see what happens, I guess. Moving on from that one, you got Curse of the Falling Star. I have not been blessed by RNGs yet, and I have not got this, sadly. I was trying to get it the other day whenever we had the Lost Sector for chest piece, but I never got it to drop. So maybe I'll get it before the season comes about, but we'll see. So what it does, though, if y'all don't realize, is like it greatly increases your Thunder Crash impact damage. So wherever your fist impacts, wherever you crash into it, that's a significant amount of damage. The splash damage is the same as it was before, but the actual impact damage is what gets increased. The only reason I point this out, other than the obvious reasons why you need to keep your eye out on it, is because we have a new artifact mod that states whenever you are amplified, you're going to get increased super damage. So if you combine Chris of the Falling Star, Thunder Crash, and that artifact mod after being amplified or while critically wounded, this is going to do a just untold amount of damage. It's going to be insane. So definitely keep an eye on that one. Lion Rampant. I wouldn't mention Lion Rampant normally in this kind of context, but due to the fact that Arc 3.0 is based very heavily towards movement and speed, that this thing also increases your hipfire accuracy, airborne effectiveness, as long as you're hipfiring while you're in the air. You can hipfire while you're in the air, not like it doesn't just provide the airborne effectiveness buff, like you can hipfire while you're flying. On top of that, it provides additional aerial maneuverability. So while you're moving like lightning on the ground and running around with Arc 3.0 buffing everyone's speed, you're also going to have increased aerial maneuverability. And that just is amazing. Combine this with thruster, and you're basically going to have like some kind of, this makes you kind of like the warlock in the air. And then thruster makes you kind of like the hunter on the ground, and then you're the Titan the rest of the way around. And so I really feel like, personally, that Arc 3.0 Titan is going to be kind of, at least in my head, it seems like a what if Titans was like a master class that had all the different abilities of all the different classes in one, and that just sounds amazing to me. Buff grenades, dodges, extra maneuverability while you're in the air, speed galore, melee stuff everywhere, ranged melee with Thunderclap. Yeah, Titan's got it good with Arc 3.0. Peacekeepers. So Peacekeepers is really good because Risk Runner exists. Risk Runner is that submachine gun, if you're not aware, that does that chaining arc damage. And Peacekeepers, you're going to be able to run even faster than what Arc 3.0 is going to push you to. And if you throw in like a lightweight sub instead of Risk Runner, you'll be able to move even faster. And it's just wild to me. You'll be able to instantly ready and reload your guns. This is looking to be a pretty good exotic next season. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes though. Dune Marchers is one I'm especially excited for. It just increases your base sprint speed and adds a static charge to your melee attacks after you've ran around for a little while. That'll chain to all the nearby enemies. So that plus Arc 3.0 and how Knockout's going to give you like a base arc melee along with Thunderclap and everything. Like there's a lot that this could do. And on top of all that, it has some of the coolest looks out of like most Titan armor. Like look at that roboticness to it. And then over here you've got like the hive look to it. Oh, it's just such a cool exotic. Moving on, MK44 Stand-Asides and Antea Swords. I'll mention these two together because they have the same idea. So this one, you're going to gain an overshield while you're sprinting at full health while you have one of the shoulder charge abilities equipped. And if you hit someone with those abilities, you'll also regain a part of your melee energy. So one of the new aspects for Arc 3.0 Titans is that while you have your class ability charged, and you're sprinting forward, you gain a shield in front of your Titan, in front of your character. And so if you use this and that aspect, if you have full health, like you're going to have a shield in front of you, an overshield on top of that, then you're going to have your regular health. And if you're like me, you're going to be running near max or max resilience. And on top of that, you could even have a thruster applied to that as well. You'll be daggum near invincible, along with having the ability to hit your enemy with one of these abilities by the time you get to them. So it's just a wild amount of defense while you're running, not just standing still, but while you're running towards the enemy. And the same thing is true for Antea Swords, only with the ability to reflect the blast instead of getting an overshield on the way to the enemy. Peregrine Greaves. It was one to look forward to because, I mean, it's just a what if amplified and other types of buff that you can get for your shoulder charge. If Seismic Strike is extremely powerful with the Titan, then this could be really good. The only downside is that you have to be in the air. The only reason I say that is a downside is because Thruster can only be used if you're on the ground. And while Thruster, I'm putting a lot of faith in Thruster, it's just because I'm really excited for it. But Thruster, you have to be on the ground. So if you're trying to close that gap between you and an opponent in PvP to use your Seismic Strike ability, and you're trying to close that gap using Thruster, and then use this, the difficulty to do so is going to be a bit more than if you were just trying to than if you weren't using this, because you have to be in the air to get this bonus. So I guess you could run towards the enemy, close the gap with Thruster, briefly jump, and then use this. And that's only assuming you don't stop sprinting after using Thruster. So I guess we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But Peregrine Greaves has a potential future. So Path of the Burning Steps. Now, typically when you think of this, you think of solar. You're not really considering arc, especially. But the thing that you need to know is that stasis is looking to be the counter to Arc 3.0. And if you're harder to slow or freeze with stasis while using this, then you can potentially keep your buffs up, stay amplified, stay buffed, stay speed boosted, longer and easier by using this if someone is trying to counter your team using stasis. So just something to look out for. You might want to consider using this if someone is trying to counter your team with stasis. I mentioned some of them earlier, but weapons obviously to keep an eye out for on the exotic side is definitely Cold Heart. It can give you ionic traces, Risk Runner for that chaining arc damage. Let's see what else is in here. Trinity Ghoul has got a crazy crowd control. Definitely could be extremely good depending on what Arc 3.0 is going to do to our exotic weapons. Let's see what's down here. Divinity. Definitely use Divinity, especially if you're in some like a raid or a strike or something. You really want to absolutely just like wipe out some bosses. This could potentially be something extremely powerful. It's already really good in that type of content, but it could potentially be even better. Symmetry over here. Symmetry's always kind of been a mid-tier kind of weapon, but potentially with Arc 3.0 it could just go beyond what a lot of people's expectations. Devil's Ruin, Cloud Strike. Cloud Strike adds that lightning storm wherever you get a precision kill, and due to lightning strikes actually being kind of I don't know if it's a verb or not, but part of the arc kit, then Cloud Strike has a feature similar to Thunderlord in its potency. Fourth Horseman, it could get a lot better. Fourth Horseman it does all right. It does a good deal of damage to a single target. Definitely check out Fourth Horseman if something does happen to it when Arc 3.0 comes out. Edge of Concurrence. This is mostly for hunters, but so it does this lightning thing that goes across the ground after it's fully charged, and it does this chain lightning effect to all the nearby targets. And if Arc 3.0 really affects this in a good way, then this could be extremely meta PvP and PvE, because glaives are already really annoying in PvP, but this one could really go beyond all the others. It has the highest potential out of all these to actually be useful in PvP. So, I mean, we might be seeing some really fast hunters running around with this glaive absolutely decimating some people. And Trespasser. Trespasser's alright. It definitely could be better, but maybe Arc 3.0 will change that. Power weapons. I wouldn't really get into these that much because, I mean, honestly, look to using Thunderlord and Anarchy. I'm going to be using Grand Overture, personally, because I love this weapon, and it does arc damage, so, I mean, we'll see how it goes, I suppose. Alright guys, this is my look, if you didn't see it earlier, my look for Arc 3.0. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. I'm really excited personally for using Thruster. If you couldn't tell by the video, Thruster and Thunderclap sound like a ton of fun to me, and I'll be looking forward to doing that on Tuesday with all of y'all. Alright guys, it's been me, Pappy, and I will catch y'all in the next video.